Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Port Harcourt, and we're going to follow up from some of those images that you've seen. We've got this morning, as you may have seen in that welcoming slide, His Excellency Nyesom Wike, Governor of Rivers State. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, having seen that, I mean, clearly, happy times for your party, but you did commend security agencies, the umpire, INEC, in that election, saying, from the way things went, that may have been the best elections we've had. And then, I mean, naturally, people think, was that because your party won?
No, it's not because my party won, but because of what we have experienced before and what we experienced in the Ondo election. So comparatively, you'll be able to say, look, from what has happened previously and what has happened now, that it's quite too much difference. So you should be able to say, yes, I think from what we've seen, this is far much better. Now, INEC said they are going to conduct a free, fair and credible election. And that we saw. Security agencies said, look, they will not give room for thugs or miscreants to overrun the place. That we saw. And I've said, if this continues, then there's hope. If this continues, then there's hope.
Whether your party wins or loses?
It doesn't matter. I mean, there are things whether your party, even if your party loses, you will see obviously that, look, the umpire, the security agencies, the role they played, there's nothing that made you to lose the election. They never contributed any role to make you to lose that election. I mean, we're all humans. When you go back home, you say, look, let us fix facts. The INEC, did they do well? Yes. Security agencies, did they do well? Yes. No. So it doesn't matter. There's nobody who was in a low state that will not say, not only the observers have said it. They're all there. They've also observed the election where they said security agencies compromise, where they said that INEC did not play the role they expected them to play. But this is the first time in our election where everyone appeared to have the same voice to say, look, this election went very well.
You just said yes, no.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that we're all human. So if I go back home, I should be able to tell myself a simple truth. Did INEC play a good role? Yes, they played. Or no, they didn't play. That's the point I'm trying to make. The security, they played their role. Yes, they play. Or no. So that's within me. So we must tell ourselves a simple truth. And not only you. You also have other people who observe the election. This is the first election I have seen that everybody appeared to be the same page.
What were the things that stood out for you during the you talked about security agencies, officials, you talked about INEC officials. How about even the conduct of the political parties there as well?
Now, if you remember, when I spoke last time, I said this election, the major trend that will determine the election is not just about the governor. That Edo people, there's a problem. One man wants to be the godfather of the state. One man wants the fate of Edo people to be in his hands. And so Edo will have to decide this time around. Should we continue that one man will come today and tell us this? Tomorrow, the same man will come and tell us this. Who knows what happens the next day? Therefore, it is now for us to decide that whether we should continue with this attitude or we should say no. And that 19th of September election was the day that Edo made their choice to say, look, we cannot continue with this.
Would you also say that the peaceful conduct had anything to do with some of the influences that tries to mediate the monarch of Benin and the national peace? Do you think there would intervention also happen?
Well, if you remember, prior to this election, there have been insinuations that this election may not likely hold, or that people are trying to obstruct the election to hold so that the governor will not be there, his tenure will have expired, and then for them to set up a sort of emergency, and then at that point the ruling party, the national party, which is the APC, would have an advantage. You remember that? Now, all kinds of things were being insinuated. Violence and this. And the people say, look, why do we have to allow violence? If we allow violence, to whose credit? We'll make sure there's no violence. We'll conduct ourselves in such a way that this election must hold. Again, I agree that the preachers by the peace committee headed by the former head of state, Abubakar, the international community, and other people could have contributed. But first of all, if you preach to me, it is for me to accept their preaching or not. What is important that the people of Edo said, look, this election must hold. And for this election to hold, we will not allow violence. We will not allow anybody to tell us any story that will make this election not to hold.
I recall that just prior to the election, just 2 days before, you said that the plan of the APC was to win the election at all costs, so that your party would go to the tribunal. Do you still hold that view?
No, but of course they did everything. Of course. But the point is that the people said no. The people said no. You could try everything you want to do, but when the people say, look, we will not accept it. That's what I also said, that look, it is the people that will determine. The resilience in the two people showed clearly.
But when you said the APC did all they could, what were those things they did that you think that was trying to win at all costs?
Well, I think that first of all, they had to do all sorts of intimidation and this. But see, one thing that played out, which I noticed, was the role of the international community. Take, for example, the US, the UK came out to say, look, there will be a visa ban. If anybody tries anything in terms of violence or in terms of rigging. And they did not only they have gone for that, to ban some governors not to have their visas. So everybody was being careful. Look, hey, I don't want to have a problem. I don't want my children to have a problem. I don't want my family to have a problem. We all go to UK every time.
So that played the role in the way they conducted themselves.
And I believe that if the EU gives the taxi support, you will see a change in the electoral process. I mean, who would want your family to be banned? You should be banned. It's a problem. In fact, they should even go further. Not only politicians, security agencies. Then you see everybody will sit up to say, look, I cannot jeopardize the future of my children and that of mine simply because you want me to help you to rig and win election. I will not do that. So it's very key.
But the commendation you gave to security agencies about the election, how they conducted themselves, does it then justify the measures the IGP took, to ensure that perhaps, you didn't misconstrue or you wanted to get into the scene or move around, or maybe your supporters, people who have sympathy for you, move around and affect things?
First of all, the IG's rule, as far as I'm concerned, as it relates to me, has to do with what I would call somebody who has had a premeditated view about me. Because IG never saw me outside. So IG never saw me outside. I was inside my room. And I got a call from the IG that, I must leave Edo State. And what surprised me was, look, why should I leave Edo State? I'm the chairman of campaign council. That you're chairman of campaign council doesn't mean after campaign you go. No, you must monitor what is going on. So at the end of the day, you'll be able to write a report to your party. This was what happened in the state. Now, but I discovered that IG's role had nothing to do with that particular in the election, because I remember that Sometimes my Committee of Finance came back to me from a FAC meeting and said that there are deductions being made to police trust fund. I said, how? Who approved that? Police is under the exclusive list, not under the concurrent list. So how would anybody go and deduct my money to say for police trust fund? And I'm not aware of that. I said, no, we won't allow that. You know, the problem we have in this country is that when you challenge certain actions, people take it personal.
So you think this was vendetta?
Of course. I can relate what has happened. So I told my Attorney General, we have to challenge this. That is, it is unconstitutional. The federal government cannot deduct money from me for police. It's not done. Because the police is not under the state. Assuming you will even do that, I must give consent to it. But I have not even given consent. Even if I do give consent, anybody can challenge it from the state. Because it's unconstitutional. So that action alone angered the IG. Secondly, when this our sister Jonine was to be abducted, my intervention, IG was not happy about it. He called me, said, the woman, I said, how? How could you allow a woman to be taken away by 4 a.m.? Knowing the security situation in the country today, why would you not have invited the woman to come? Assuming that the woman was abducted at that time, was killed. And then tomorrow somebody comes and says, no, it was not possible that came to abduct her. But are those who wore police uniform? I mean, a simple thing. So, and I said, look, this is not right. And the woman was to give evidence that day and National Assembly. So what coincidence? Why should it be that particular day?
But when he called you, did you let him know that, on the contrary to the reasons he may have given you to leave the state, did you let him know that you think that this is vendetta because of this and these reasons that you highlighted?
I told him that you can't tell me to leave this. I have every right. I have every right to be anywhere at any time. First of all, if the IG could tell a governor the level of impunity that you must leave the state, then what happens to ordinary Nigeria? And I told him, you cannot do that. I don't want to go into detail, but I know. Right. The governor of Imo State was there. The governor of Kano was there. He never told him to leave. So why would you tell me the governor of the State, who's the chairman of the campaign council?
And those were his exact words.
Yes, said I must leave. I said I will not leave. And I didn't leave.
But just regarding that deduction you talked about, I'm thinking if your consent was sought, as you said, would you have been willing to at least make that donation to the Nigerian police?
Well, you need to convince me why. You need to convince me. Because whether you like it or not, even at the state level, the governors take virtually the whole responsibility in terms of funding of the police. Yes, with all due respect. But you must convince me, why are you taking my money? When I mean my money, not my personal money, but I'm the head of the state, I'm the one representing the state. So you should be able to let me know, this is why your money has been deducted. And like I've said before, when you challenge things that are wrong, take for example now, if I go to court and say, the federal government has refused to pay me my excess crude, my 13% for the excess crude. Somebody says, oh, you are fighting the federal government. What is the fight? I'm saying that you have not paid me my money. Pay me my money. What is due to my state? And then you say, oh, you are fighting the government. If, for example, today, the National Assembly makes a law, which I think is unconstitutional, for example, and I say, look, this law you have passed is unconstitutional. And then you challenge. Somebody tells you, oh, you are fighting the Senate President. You are fighting the Speaker of the House of Reps. I mean, that's not the way things are supposed to be done. But the truth is that if you see things that are wrong, and you know that not in consonance with the law, you should be able to look, okay, if you think is right and I think is wrong, let the court make a pronouncement. But once you do that, it is believed that you are fighting the authority, which is not.
You know, there are members of the party, the APC, who think that, well, the PDP shouldn't gloat over this because if not for the infighting, the disagreements within the APC, that somehow just let them take their hand. They didn't go full throttle in Edo State. Other than that, they would have easily, in their words, easily won Edo State. And they shouldn't think, PDP should not think that the same thing will play out in Edo State because it will not happen.
Well, first of all, nobody told them to fight. There must be reason. You know, once you lose, there must be reason you must give why you lost. So this is infighting on infighting. Is that no infighting in PDP? And when Obaseki came, was that no infighting? But we were able to resolve it. Because for us to win the election, we must be able to say that we work together. So it's not my business that you are fighting amongst yourselves. Why should I have that headache? Now, if you say in case of Ondo State, I can tell you correctly. If INEC played the same role they played in Edo, and security agencies play the same role they played in Edo, I can assure you that PDP will win that election. But it's very obvious. You see, look, Nigerians are tired. Nigerians are tired. Promises and promises and promises and promises of the party. Nobody's seen anything.
Is that at the center or the state? Because the state is different. Because he contested against the same governor and he lost.
You see, we're talking about the party. Who cares? What happens at the center affects at the state. In the same party, the same policy they follow. The only fear I have, as it concerns Ondo today, is that there's so much pressure on INEC now and security agencies.
To do what?
Of course, to make sure that for whatever it is, don't embarrass us.
Who's pressuring them?
The APC. It's pressuring INEC. This is true.
How can you say for sure?
I don't need to tell you my source of information. What is the point of whether my information is relevant or not? I don't need to tell you. Okay, if I do tell you, how would I get my information again?
But this kind of
But everybody knows that. Everybody knows. Even APC themselves know that they are putting so much pressure now on INEC and security agencies. And I see in such a way that, look, INEC may succumb to it. It is my prayer that they don't. It's my prayer that they don't. That you cannot be firm as they did in Edo, but I doubt whether they can.
Because people thought that they thought the pressure on INEC is to do better than how they performed in Edo State.
You see, that's why we're trying to make mistakes. Having lost Edo, everything until APC will be done to make sure that they don't lose Ondo. Because if they lose Ondo, their fear is that Nigerians will say, oh no, we can now see that this party is gone.
But when you compare Edo with Ondo State, you also know that that incumbency effect played out in Edo State. Don't you think that will also play out in Ondo State?
What is the incumbency factor in Edo?
Sitting governor.
The sitting governor was re-elected.
What happened? I was the sitting governor. When the security forces came against me, I was the sitting governor.
So don't you think that will play out in Ondo State also?
Not the point I'm trying to make. If it says incumbency factor, yes, then I shouldn't have had a problem.
But you didn't lose.
You didn't lose.
No, because of the will of the people.
So don't you think the will of the people also?
If you go to Ondo, you know that the will of the people is against the incumbent governor.
Because recall during the last election in Ondo State, the margin was about 90,000 votes.
Yes.
And for Edo State, the margin that we had in the previous election was increased for the incumbent governor. So using that same analogy for Ondo State, don't you think that will also play out?
See, there is a factor you must try to understand what happened in Edo State. I told you that the election was not between Obaseki and Oshomole. I don't want to talk about their candidate because for me, he was not there. The election was between Edo, people and the Somali that you have tried to play on intelligence, and this time we have to stop this. This your godfatherism will not continue. And Edo who came out and spoke very well. The kind of resilience I saw in Edo State, I've never seen it in any state. That is to tell you, look, we are tired of this. Now in Ondo, it has to do with, look, performance now. Ondo will say, look, you have promised this, you have promised this, you have promised this to us. Well, not saying anything.
But this is
so
different.
It is not about federalism issue now, as it concerns Ondo State.
Yeah, but you know, when we spoke to the governor of Kaduna State a couple of days ago, he said that there was polling which he relied on, and 3 weeks to that time, the APC was leading. But there were mistakes or something's happened, and then they lost out. So did you rally in any poll yourself to say that right from the one you were going to win this?
I don't know who did the polling for him, and the poll that he set up, that's he was the one who set up that poll for him. So there was never a day anybody sincerely would tell you that Obasanjo would lose that election. Never. Never. There was never a day. If you go by the pool, if you actually, I told you I went to Edo State. Or not to the governor. I never told him I was coming to Edo State. I moved around without nobody knew. You can see the bitterness. You can see the anger of the people against Oshomole. I don't want anybody to go for any poll to come and give me result, no?
But there were crowds at the different rallies that the APC conducted. In fact, people hailing the former chairman of the
So what is crowd?
So are you saying that those crowds were angry?
We have been into this politics. What is crowd? People are hungry. You move from one local government to the other local government. Every day the same people, the same face.
Is that what happened with the PDP's campaign rally?
No. You see, let me tell you, like I've said, PDP's own was people are angry against somebody. So it was, of course, now that people will come out to vent their anger against so-called person. So whenever PDP goes, my people went word by word, not local government by local government, word by word, 192 words. It's not easy. The riverine, everywhere, word by word. APC didn't go word by word. They went local government by local government. So it is easy for you, those who attended already local government rally, to also attend one is or whatever. But when it concerns word by word, it's not possible. It's not possible for you to carry somebody from word 1 to word 192. It's not possible.
All right, Your Excellency, we'll go to break, but we'll come back and continue our conversation in just a moment. Please join us again. Back to Sunrise Daily. Welcome to you live from Port Harcourt, and we are having a conversation with His Excellency Nyesom, Wike, Governor of Rivers State. Well, I haven't seen all that has gone in, the roles that you played, your party, how politicians seek elected positions. We've seen before that things are not usually cast in stone. After all this effort that you put in, what did the governor then join the APC?
Well, I don't want to believe that will happen.
It has happened before.
Well, it has happened before, doesn't mean that it will happen again. I don't believe that. I don't want to discuss something that I think it is not going to be possible. But however, assuming it happens, so what? That's politics. If the government believes that PDP is no longer a party for him to actualize his vision and mission, there's nothing wrong. But I don't believe that is going to happen, because the government has consistently told us that there's no way he will leave PDP. Because if he does leave PDP, for example, as you're asking, you know the consequence of that people in the state would not be happy. And it's somebody I have that trust that will not leave the party. This is a party that clothed him. This is a party that when it was raining, they gave him umbrella.
And you seem to have played a huge role in that. And I'm thinking, after the election, you received a sort of hero's welcome when you came back to the state. The governor came to visit to thank you for the role you played. And I'm thinking, what role did you really play exactly?
No. You see, it is not that I played a special role, but as chairman of the campaign council, who supervised the campaign council of strategies and what to do, and frankly speaking, it would be wrong for me to say that every thing should be according to me as the one who made sure that he won the election. No. I think it was a collective role by everybody. Particularly, I must give kudos to the governor of Oyo State. I must give kudos to the governor of Delta State. These are people I know that contributed immensely to the success of the governor of Edo State. When you say when I came back, because people, as being chairman, assuming we lost, what would people have said? Or they would have said, we told you, you can't win. When you made Wike the chairman of the campaign, how would you have won? So Shimule would have come out to say, I told you not to bother, that Wike would cannot have nothing to do with the election. So having won, I said, look, you've made us proud. The mere fact that you stood firm gave you double courage. Stand firm and do what you're supposed to do. It's enough for us. So our people felt that, look, you stayed away for days to be in Edo State, to give the governor the courage and his people to tell them not to be afraid.
They're happy you deployed resources to the state for
what's the resources? What resources will he deploy? He's a sitting governor. What resources will I use? That's the mistake people make. What resources? He's a sitting governor. What resources are you going to deploy for a sitting governor that he may not have? But the mere fact that you are there to give them courage, inspiration. Do not be afraid. Protect your vote. It has happened to me before, and we won. You can also win if you do that. It's enough.
Would you be doing that on those states?
Why not? If the party says, I should, I'm not the chairman of the campaign council. There's a lot of difference between APC and PDP. You see, the thing is that APC is not a political party, per se. APC is people who came together to take over power from PDP. And that's why you see crisis they're having today. See, if you look at the APC, you have CPC, you have APP, or what they call AMPP, you have ACN, right? PDP has always been one PDP since 1999.
So there wasn't PDM? There wasn't all
there were no political parties. These were political parties. ACN was a political party. CPC was a political party. AMP was a political party.
Doesn't their coming together ever make them much more
they have
a political party?
Now, take for example, if I was in AMPP, our party would have a different manifesto, for example. If I was the ACN, our party would have a different manifesto. If I was the CPC, the same thing. What happened was just people sat together and conspired against the former president, Jonathan. And that is why it is a part of 10 bedfellows.
Isn't that, I think the point he's trying to make here is, you see candidates, politicians, crisscross from time to time, as though there's no difference.
No. It depends on character. No, it depends. For me, I cannot. And I've never done it. And I won't do it. See,
so that is not a good thing. It doesn't speak well of a person's character when they move from one party to the other.
Of course, some people move out of because of protection. Protection. Take for example, you are in PDP, and APC is in power. Oh, they'll come after me. They move to APC. They are protected. They are not corrupt again. The mere fact that you left PDP, this APC attacked PDP as a corrupt party, but the moment you leave PDP, you are no longer corrupt.
Even though there are persons who left the party and went to the ruling party, they are still under investigation. Their cases still were in court.
No, let me tell you something. Sometimes the government, a party will try to prove. There are some people that must be used as scapegoats to show that, look, we are really doing that. Actually, that is not the correct thing. How many people? Mention those who today in the government of APC, if 70% of them are not PDP members, mention them. Mention them. They are all PDP members.
Which underscores the point
Yes.
perhaps there is no difference as far as those people are concerned.
But I have told you here, some people do not know because of being that's different. But for protection purposes, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Now, you also talked about
No groups, parties. Yes. Of course, you can see the lineage. You can see. It is very clear. There are those who are from PDP. You will see along the line they took. There are those who are from ACN. You can see the line they took. There are those from CPC. You can see the line they took. So it is very clear. But as far as PDP is concerned, there's no way to allow it. It's PDP, it's PDP. It's PDP, it's PDP.
You know, for a lot of people, especially when you said that people are tired of promises.
Yeah.
You said that earlier on, and I was going to ask, is it promises from the APC or from the PDP? Because it still goes back to this discussion we're having.
Okay, take for example.
There's a political class.
No, take for example. Tell me why anybody in Rivers State will say, PDP, you have made promises to us in Lord fulfilled. Tell me one reason. Tell me one reason anybody will say in Rivers State, we are tired of promises. Mention one reason anybody will.
So you're saying you fulfilled all the promises you've made?
My term has not ended. So I cannot say I fulfilled every promise I've made.
So maybe they can, in that light, say, well, there are some promises that you haven't fulfilled.
Oh, but I still have time. But I'm fulfilling the promises I made. So it will be difficult for anybody to say, I'm leaving PDP based on the fact that the government made promises to the people and cannot fulfill the promises. But you can leave PDP if somebody has an ambition and believes they cannot actualize that ambition in PDP. Then that could be a reason for him to say, well, I cannot actualize my ambition in PDP. So, let me go to social party. I think that they can give me the ticket. That is the root of the fact. Not that PDP is not doing well in Rivers State. Nobody can say that. Even the opposition knows that they cannot, in all sincerity, come out to the public to say PDP is not doing well in Rivers State, and therefore we must change the government of PDP. Nobody can say that.
But what yardstick, if I may ask, do you use to measure that you're doing well?
In all ramifications. What am I not doing well? Is it in terms of infrastructure? Is it in terms of security? So when you say yardstick, are you not seeing the kind of infrastructure we're providing? Are you not seeing that we have fought insecurity to the point that people are not happy? We cannot, nobody in this world, even in the most advanced countries, can say there's no one form of security or the other. Nobody can say that. But comparatively, as far as this country is concerned today, You can see there were fought insecurity in this state.
But in terms of infrastructure, the development, is it happening across the whole of Rivers State?
I can challenge, there's no local government, there's not one local government, not one, that will say, we don't have any sign that this government exists. I can call one local government to the 23 local government, this is the project we are doing in each of these local government. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about reality. Forget people. You see, the problem we have is that you may come from social local government, right? You may think that this is what you want. You may think so. And government providing social thing. Instead of you to tell people, yes, government is providing this, but this is not what you said. No, government has not provided anything in my local government. You don't determine the government, what government tends to do in your local government. No, you don't.
But in the democratic process, pardon me, isn't it the people that say, well, we've looked at...
No, when people, you are not the people. You as a single individual. That's the point I'm trying to make. That, you see, in our political system, you see people who rush to radio stations, who rush to the media houses. That does not mean that's what the people want.
But then you also said the other time that you, as a governor, can represent some states. Some of these people who have also spoken might say, look, we're representing our states.
On what basis do you represent your state? How do you represent your state?
Yes,
I mean, your local government. First of all, you're not the CDC chairman. You're not the local government chairman of the state. So how do you represent your state? I mean, your local government. You don't. Some people just want to be heard.
Some of these people who want to be heard are complaining about certain public hospitals in communities like Tai, Bolo, Nigo, and some other places.
Just what I've said. Even if I'm in office for 20 years, is it possible to provide everything for every local government? Is it possible? I'm going to ask the same question. Which government provided that I'm not providing? Right? Take for example in Ogubolo, what did they want? They had asked, they wanted land. And it's a different area. I have to fulfill more than 20 hectares of land for them. There are some areas that this is what they require. In Ogubolo, they don't have land. So one major project you must do for people mostly from the river area is to fulfill.
So they'll be satisfied with just fulfilling the land?
Do you know what it takes? You have nowhere to build a house. Now government project where you can build a house, where you can have a home. Look, you don't know the importance of that. So it depends. So it depends. Most of people say, when you say time, what time? How many roads have I not done in time? A road that was awarded prior before I became a governor, no contractor moved in. Go and see the road that has been completed. Ask the Senator Barry Piggy. Ask him. So, you see, you cannot, everybody believes that, look, we want this, we want that. But is it possible for you to give everything?
I know
your government can do that.
What about education? Because I know that's an area you're also interested in. Take, for example, Okrika Grammar School. Because these are issues that people raise. Talking about the renovation.
Okrika Grammar School, people do what? Is this government school? Before I came in, these schools have been handed over to the missionaries, to the church who owned them before government took over. And then they complain that they want to take over their schools. Right? And government handed over their schools to them. It's like a private school now. Right? So, for me to intervene, the church must tell me I should come and intervene. It is not a public school.
Well, what about the government comprehensive?
Go and see what we're doing there. Go and see what we're doing comprehensive. It's government school. Go and see what we're doing in Electorate. It's government school.
So renovation is ongoing?
Of course. I met with the old boss association, a government comprehensive. Go and see. We went there together. And they appreciated what we're doing. You see, I'm not trying to go and build model schools. No, I'm not interested in that. These are schools that have made names. They must bring them back. You don't need to go and start building model schools or spending 3-4 billion naira. It's not necessary. What you can put these resources in these old schools and bring them back to what it used to be.
What about the teachers themselves? What programs do you have for training of the teachers and their welfare?
Of course, that is going on. In fact, as I speak to you, we are trying to employ about 6,000 teachers. Because it's obviously, at the time we came on board, our retirement, we don't have enough or whatever adequate teachers today in the schools, called a civil service. So part of the program to have that, we must have to employ such number of teachers to add to the quality of the education. Because when you don't have teachers, what do you do? One teacher taking about how many classes? That of course affects the quality. But it is a process.
But is it 6,000 or 10,000? Because I think I recall you promised 10,000. Or is it 6,000?
No, you can't employ 10,000 teachers.
I think it was in 2019. You said 10,000.
No, I never said 10,000 teachers. I couldn't have said 10,000 teachers. I said 6,000.
6,000
teachers. Yes, I think if I remember vividly. Yes.
Because if I recall vividly, also I think it was 10,000.
Whichever way it is, but all we're saying that we're in the process of employing more teachers.
And still speaking about employment, the NBS's figure about unemployment put Rivers State as third, 43.7%. What are you doing in that area?
Now you ask yourself, how did they get that figure? I don't want to go into political statistics. I don't want to go into
political statistics?
I with all due respect, if you want, I've never talked to them. I'm not interested. How do you get your statistics?
So why don't you invite them to say, look, can you explain the modalities?
Because I know that they're not being fair.
So do you have your own stats?
What is their statistics? Now take for example. You cannot, as a government, you cannot employ everybody. But when you create jobs, that need to implement. Now let me see in any state the number of jobs going on. Take for example, if you have a little construction job going on, for example, does that not create employment? Does that not create employment? Does employment mean that you must work in government? Is that what employment is?
But the construction doesn't go on forever.
No, but whether it goes on forever or not, you cannot also have, in any country, what kind of employment is that? You have something doing. That is key. That's employment. There's no employment that's forever. Even you, as a civil servant, it's not forever. You have a time you must leave. You have a time you must leave. Employment does not mean that it is something that you must do throughout your life. No.
So you will
from one job to the other. That's employment. So
none of the agencies of the state will reach out to MBF, study those figures and see whether or not they reflect what's going on.
Something we agree that we don't need to talk about because it is fake. It's political.
So do you have like your own unemployment figures? If you say that the MBS, you believe it's political,
yes.
Do you have for
I'm not saying that, look, we don't have the rate of unemployment in Nigeria today, of course, is high. That's the point I'm saying. So you can now, I will not in the position to say the rate of employment in Nigeria is not high.
The same MBS says the same thing.
The MBS don't need to tell me that. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in their statistics. I don't.
So what do you rely on?
First of all, in Rivers State today, nobody can tell me that we've not tried in times of employment to reduce the level of unemployment. No. No.
How do you know that? Do you have figures you rely on?
But the jobs that we have created. Look, your government has not true. As you go to the back, you see over 250 people working. That's just one area. As I take you to the back of government house now, And that job has been on for more than 1 year. 250 people are working. That is not job. It does not create job for, it does not give them money to feed. That is one area. As you go to Forces Avenue, it's over 100 people working. That is not employment. As you go to the Garrison Rebus flyover, it's over 300 people working.
So if you can aggregate all these construction and the other things you have, how many jobs would you say have been created?
If today you put this together, I can tell you in this state, in just construction industry alone, not in other sectors, you cannot have less than 3,000 people working.
So what's your target?
We believe that before the end of this our second tenure, we should be able to create not less than 20,000 jobs.
That's for this second tenure. Okay, what about your overall targets of unemployment from when you came into power to when you leave?
I may not be exact. I'm sorry, I'd let you know that I'm over exaggerating, you know. So, but I do know that since we came on board, we've created not less than 100,000 jobs.
And you have figures to back that?
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to exaggerate. But if you go to our statistics department, Ministry of Finance, in my Ministry of Budget, you find out that this is there. You know, I read last night Budget Transparency, rating River State in terms of fiscal responsibility as the best state. I don't want to talk about it.
You just did.
No. The point I'm trying to say, I don't want to start blaming, you know, right. Oh, we have done this, so we have rated this. Some people have gone on the radio, television, newspapers, people are congratulating you for being this. That's not our style. MBA should come to the state and see for themselves what are we doing to create jobs. Not just sitting in your office in Abuja.
All right.
Somebody will come and give you, say that River State is this, say that Akwa Ibom is this.
Even though they say they deploy people to go out there to get this data.
They never deploy anybody.
All right. We'll talk about some of these things when we'll come back. And your questions as well, Rivers people, they want to find out certain things. That will be when we return. Join us again. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, Your Excellency, looking at that clip about the specialist hospital for mother and child, I do remember when one of the Southwest governors did it, I think about 8-10 years ago or thereabout. One of the challenges was, he said, it was almost becoming a little challenging for the indigenes to access those healthcare facilities and provided for them. Do you have any such concern that the people who you initially built it for may not access it? Because, I mean, everybody wants good healthcare, so people from other states can always come in here.
Well, first of all, there's nothing you can provide that can be enough. There's nothing you can provide that can be enough. What's important that you have to start from somewhere first. So if you begin to have this idea that, look, if I provide this, it will not be enough, then you have a problem. Start with something first. We have never had a mother and child hospital before in the state. So the idea is, look, we want to provide a hospital that takes care of mothers and children. Now, having done that, if we now see that, look, it cannot be enough, then the next government can think of something doing. But you cannot just say because the likelihood that when this is provided, there will be such that even the Rivers people may not have access as is being required. But what is basic is that, look, you have made a provision for something. After, before this time, you ask yourself, was there any hospital called mother and child that takes care of mothers and children?
In the States?
In the States. No. You go to a hospital, general hospital, for example, or hospital, you have a department, gynecologist and pediatrician, right? Now we have gone beyond and said, look, no, let us provide so that we just fully take care of mothers and children. And that's what is key. It is not just, oh, people will be coming from outside. Obviously, there's no way you can make provision. Even though nothing is wrong with that, I don't know, it depends on perspectives now. Look, we're not providing that it's only Rivers people that must use it. No, it's not correct. After all, some of us, you travel to Lagos for medical care.
Your Excellency.
So it is not. So the issue is not. You shouldn't be bothered about the increasing number of demands. What is your bother first? We don't have this facility. We have provided for this facility, and whether you like it or not, there's no facility that you can provide that can adequately take care. It's just not possible.
Permit me, Your Excellency, to link it to our previous conversation before the break, which is that of employment and all of that. How many jobs does this hospital create, both direct and indirect, if there's a guess?
Well, first of all, if you say how many jobs it will create in terms of employment of doctors, more doctors will be employed. Because you have so many doctors today who are looking for jobs. But with this, it will lead to employment of more doctors.
Definitely. But is there...
And then, of course, we say direct and indirect. Those who worked there and those who are making some supplies. Those are part of job. You know, in everything you do, there's a multiplier effect. So when it's talking, like when we were talking about employment before, and I said, look at the flyover. You have about 250. Okay, no. I said, look at the government house where we are building the government house clinic, admin office, and you have about 250. But what are the multiplier effects of that?
Well, people also want to know, pardon me, when will the schools reopen in River State?
We have a Executive Council meeting today by 4 to take a final decision. So it will be wrong for me now to say it will open tomorrow when the Executive Council meeting will be to consider based on the proposal made by the Ministry of Education. So I will not, but if I say that, then there's no need of the Executive Council meeting. So it's better for the Executive Council to take a decision today. But obviously, I do know that the schools will soon be open. But the date I do not know, pending the decision of the Executive Council meeting by 4 p.m. today.
Which will also lead credence to how far-reaching the impact of COVID-19 and, of course, the lockdowns have been on teachers, you know, themselves. Which still, again, forgive me for saying, tails back to employment or lack of it. But when you were speaking about employment the other time, there was an aspect that I thought maybe might help. You've talked about the intervention of government in producing environment. Have a very, very good environment to do business and then be able to create more jobs that will be credits to
First of all, because of the enabling environment we are provided, there are a lot of investment inflows to the state. If we have not fought insecurity to the level we did, we would have had investors coming in. So creating an enabling environment is key. And when investors come in, that creates employment, which is very, very important. Very, very important. I can tell you today, if you go to One now, you can see so many vessels coming in. If you look at the statistics today, if people will tell the simple truth, how many companies that have come in? The only problem we have had has to do with this COVID-19 that obviously affected a lot of investment, not only in River State, globally. But with things being a bit relaxed and things coming down, I think that things are improving. So we felt that, look, if we fight insecurity, investors will come in. Because one key thing of investors is that if the environment is not conducive, there's no way they can come in. Two, if you don't have the basic infrastructures, because providing infrastructure is only a factor for investors to come in. If there are no roads, how would investors come? So you must provide the roads, the road network, for investors to come in. Well, no investor is coming to do roads for you. You need to do the roads to give them that confidence that yes, we can invest here because the road networks are good.
But forgive me, that also ties to that plan, the economic sustainability plan of the federal government, which from that plan says the government plans to provide some 5 million jobs within the next 12 months, but in partnership with the states. Now, from one part of the plan also talks about the states providing some 20,000 to 100,000 hectares of land for agriculture and the rest of them. Has that conversation between the federal government and the states begun so that this plan can be fast-tracked?
No federal agency has contacted us for that. I do know that it was the Minister of the Works, when he was in charge of Works and Housing, that called our attention about providing lands for building of houses. Our experience, with due respect, is that previously, state governments have provided land to federal government. And at the end of the day, nothing's been done. And then you have denied the people the land to farm, and then you said it is a property now because the state government has given it to you. And nothing has been done. So our contention has always been, look, before I give you land, you must sign that if this is not developed within so time, the state government should take over their land.
Irrespective of the work that might have been done at whatever point?
If this is not developed.
Oh,
take, for example, if you say you want to build 2,000 houses, for example, in River State, and I provide so hectares of land, right? And if you don't develop, you will tell me, within which period are you going to provide these houses? If it is not provided, the state should take over their land. Because it has always been where, you see, you give a federal government agency hundreds of hectares of land, and what happens? They don't use it. Then before you do it, they start sharing the land among themselves. Against the purpose for which?
Has that happened before?
Several times. So for me now, if the federal government agency wants land to do something, you must sign for me. Within so period, if you don't develop this land, the state is entitled to take over their land. And not for you to tell me it is your land. No, we will not agree to that. And that is why it is very difficult. And most of them, when they come, tell me, you say you want to build this and build that. I agree. Within which period are you going to build this? 1 year, fine. 2 years, fine. But for me to give you land, just like that, then you say, oh, this is immigration land. I will not accept that. I will not accept that.
Speaking about the federal government, I mean, there's this approval that has got Nigerians talking. FEC approving about $1.96 billion rail line project linking parts of the country. I think Abashio said today, not into Niger, but just at the border points to help the country even truck petroleum products. What do you think about that?
I don't want to discuss about anything about federal government policy. You see, it's because as River State is confined, anything River State says, it's as if you are fighting the government. But for me, I don't see the need for that. And that's where I would go there. Because it's very, very funny. There are projects or things you back upon. We have a lot of problems in the country that should be sorted out. So I don't want to go into, like I said, everything is being personalized. If you make your own opinion on issues, It's as if they are fighting the government. Nobody wants to consider that, look, let us listen to what people have said about this. Federal government has approved it. The Electorate has approved it. So what can you do? What can you do? It was never brought to the table to the public to know before now. So for people to say, look, is it necessary? It's not necessary. So if you say now that it's not necessary, what can you do? It has been approved, it's the council.
So you don't think it's something that we should have?
The point is that when you dissipate the energy in discussing, will it be reversed?
Isn't that the essence of a democracy?
No. Assuming that's the essence of democracy, I agree with you. But in our own system, does it work? Has it worked? No, mention one day where your opinion has ever mattered.
Doesn't it matter in your state, for example?
My state is not Nigeria. My state is not Nigeria. My state is a component.
Well,
So you must understand. You see, you must look the pattern of the government, and that's why I say Nigerians, we have a life that we don't care.
Your Excellency, forgive me.
We don't bother. Things that everybody can say, look, this we will not accept. You hear the day NLC say they are going to carry us, they are going to shut down Port Harcourt, and there was a court injunction, right? They said it was a blanket injunction. Is that correct? Now, federal government, through some people, have got an injunction against labor. Let me now see whether labor will say it is a black market injunction. So you can see how things operate in this country.
Your Excellency, there is an interest that you have continually expounded here, and I think it is something that should be given a little bit of attention to. We seem to be divided along our state lines as opposed to that national ethos that we all should have. You have talked about Rivers State passionately, and I know from listening to you that you are equally passionate about Nigeria. At what point will we begin to talk more about the Nigerian me as opposed to the Oyo State me, or the Lagos State me, or the Rivers State me?
First of all, there cannot be Nigeria without the states. He said they call Nigeria without the states. So, I'm a governor of the state. I was voted for by the people of the state to improve the welfare of the people of the state. So the primary responsibility first is for the well-being of the people of the state. Nigerians never elected me. It is those who are in the state here, who do business in the state, who are from River State, that elected me. So it is primarily that I must speak first for the interest of my state.
I understand that, Your Excellency.
Now, when you're talking about Nigeria, yes, as a country, I've never said that we should not talk about how Nigeria should move forward. I've never said so. Take, for example, when I said what the IG did, that in this country, we personalize issues. That is Nigeria I'm talking about. Is that the way it's supposed to be? I talked about the impunity in the country. You can imagine where an Inspector General of Police will order an elected governor to leave a particular state. An elected governor to leave a particular state. Everybody has a right to move to wherever he wants to move in this country. Now I'm an elected governor with immunity, an IG, an appointed person tells an elected person you must leave.
What if it's based on intelligence? That's
what intelligence?
Maybe there's a threat posed by.
No, he cannot say
presence.
so. He had to discuss with me. He had to discuss with me. Then the next thing you see is 300 policemen with armored carrier, with taxpayers' money, buying armored carrier to say we are a governor. is supposed to be.
What do you think?
No, the point we're talking about is the Nigerian issue now. That's what I'm talking about now. This is the Nigerian issue now we're talking about. Is that not a coup? What can be more of a coup than that?
But he's doing his job in some sense.
What is his job? A governor is in his room. You've not seen a governor outside. You've not seen him doing anything that you say constitutes a threat to the security of the place. Now, such a country, I was saying that things are moving on well. That's my Nigerian issue now. The level of impunity that public officers and political appointees exhibit is such a threat. What is wrong that the government had done something and you feel, look, this is wrong, it's against the constitution. I said, look, how do you challenge this? Who makes the pronouncement that it's illegal? It's not the court. Do I need to encourage people to go and carry gun?
Perhaps, Your Excellency, that also speaks to the quality of leaders, from the political class that fall into governance. How do we make that?
It is not the quality of. You see, the point is, let me tell you. The former IG, Idris, as a governor, I woke up in the morning. Before I knew it, my CSO, everybody, they've taken everybody away. So I was left alone. This is supposed to be a chief secretary of the state, who is supposed to be guarded and protected. Now, because I have no control over those who work with me in terms of security personnel, I woke up and never saw anybody again. What happened? The IG has ordered that they should remove security personnel from me.
What do you think informed that?
Whatever was have informed it. Is that allowed? Should I be allowed? Whatever you are telling me as a chief, you said I'm a chief security, which I have refused to tell governors not to answer the chief security officer.
But that's what they are.
No, they are not. They are just by name. They are chief logistic officers.
Well,
they are chief logistic officers. No governor is a chief security officer. They are all chief logistics officers. When it concerns providing logistics, that's what they will do. But in terms of being chief security officer, no. What control do you have? If me as a governor, I wake up in the morning, I can't find my CSO, I can't find my ADC, I can't find my orderly, and I ask questions, they say they have all been withdrawn. So what chief security officer are you talking about?
Well, as we wind down with this one, I mean, yes, you're confident about, still politics anyway, that your party will win on the, but what if maybe the APC pull together, the national leader of the APC supports the candidate of the APC in Ondo State? Can you still, your party?
They have always supported their party.
No, there was a disagreement, a falling out, which led to your party taking advantage. Some people said the message that the former governor of Lagos State released affected things.
In football, when you lose, there must be a reason why you lost. When you win, there must be a reason why you won, APC, they have the duty that we lost because of this, because of that. But they forget the point that the way the politics is moving, everybody is being conscious. As a region, everybody now wants to be together. As a region.
They want to go back to regionalism?
No, what I'm trying to say is that we don't want to have divergent views. We want to speak with one voice. One voice in standard. We don't want to see where you are talking based. Like before, when we meet, you don't say the state governor. Yes, because he belongs to APC then. So when we are discussing, he will not be there. But now he's with us. Everybody will be together now, and to talk about Sasa. So when we talk about Ondo, about APC coming together,
and the national leader supporting them,
I have no problems about that. They have always supported themselves. But the point we are praying, we are saying, even though I'm afraid, because the kind of pressure on INEC now is so enormous. It's so enormous that I doubt whether INEC will not kill him.
What will be
Just
next
as
for you?
agencies.
What will be next for you after your tenure when you finish?
What will be next to me? Let me finish first. Well,
But-
do we have to put...
They're already talking about 2023.
Yes,
Everywhere
sir.
you turn, they say
Yes.
this person is going to be president. I'm campaigning for this. So
Yes.
they're already talking about it, whether we like it or not.
Yes, somebody, those who want to be president, they can be talking about them. My duty now is to provide basic infrastructure for my people. My duty is not to talk about what 2023 will be, assuming I'm not alive. Assuming I'm not alive.
Some would also talk, Your Excellency, about the fact that the success of a leader is sometimes predicated on the succession of his successes after he's left
You
office.
see, that's also why that's why we have this problem. Why, when I'm living as a governor, I must produce
Not necessarily.
somebody who succeeds.
Not
That's the problem.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
And that's the problem we have all over. You people are the ones who are encouraging politicians to bring a successor.
It's just
By
a
asking
question.
No,
questions.
it's not a question. He already has that in mind. What he's asking me,
I'm
how am I
checking my
preparing-
mind.
No, what he's asking me is that, how am I preparing for my successor? Why must I bring the successor?
No, I'm asking, how do you want to ensure, because there is the need
Yes.
to ensure that the successes and the interests
Yes.
of your people in the state
Yes.
are sustained beyond your tenure.
Yes.
That's just what I'm asking. What's the plan to ensure that those successes you have recorded are not withered down?
No, I don't agree to that. Everybody who wants to be at the head of affairs would have his own vision and mission. If somebody was coming to the government of the state, believes that he can go along with what I have done, so be it. I am not going to say, look, I want Chamberlain to succeed me so I can continue. Why would I think so? Why would I want Chamberlain to continue what I have done? When Chamberlain must have his own vision and mission. And when we want to have this at the back of our mind, then there's a problem. And that's why in Nigerian politics today, everybody wants, I will put who will succeed me.
But not you.
I will not do that. And that's the problem I have today. People are saying, look, you're not making any room for who will succeed you. I said, why would I make room for who will succeed me? Well, okay, well, what would I do? If the man succeeds me, so what will happen? If he does not do the things I want you to do, so what will happen? And who tells you that if he succeeds me, that I will have control over him?
All right.
I will be a party to that. But history has shown it does not work. And allow everybody to have his own mind, to do what he wants to do for the people, and let the people judge him based on what he's doing.
All right.
Not me telling him, go and do this and go. That's why we're having problems all over the place.
We'll end on that note. We're speaking with His Excellency Nyesom Wike, Governor of Rivers State. Thank you for talking to us today. Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Kayode Fikelu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Stay safe and have a good weekend.